Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Shadow of the Colossus playthrough. So, we're now into the double digits of the Colossi. It's time to face down Colossi number 10. And after the delight that was Bassaran, it's time for another one which isn't exactly the most pleasant in the world. And yes, I mostly had cut out my save points, but at this time, decided not so much to do so. I think it was because I had ended up... what had I ended up doing? I don't even know at this point. I think it was just like, you know what? Can't even be bothered. Just leave it in there. Let's just get on with it. Bassaran really did take it out of me. Because he is such a really not great fight. And I have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of this Colossi either. And that's largely because it arguably is the toughest Colossi of the bunch, because it's one of the most aggressive and it's one of the most finicky to deal with as well. And I mean, I had a whole discussion last time about part lengths and when you can tell something's going to go well and when something's not going to go well. Well, this is pretty much another perfect example of that, because not only is this Colossi quite challenging, it's also a bit of a nightmare to get to him, because he's pretty kind of hidden away. He's one of the furthest Colossi from the central shrine of worship as the crow flies. So I mean, that's already difficult. He's underground, so in terms of, you know, getting the light to be able to direct you to the right place, that's a bit of a nightmare. But also, it's just... yeah, it's just a bit of a nightmare, really, all things considered. And because obviously it's quite a ways away, I'm just going to end up finding a lot of the save shrines and going, "Give me my white-tailed lizards, you monsters." Just the way it rolls, really. I know at some point I'm going to get one where the lizard's going to glitch itself out on aggro, and it's a delight, because it made my life so much easier. But actually finding the bloody thing was easier said than done. And actually, it might... yes, this is the one, I think. Somehow... miraculously, the lizard ended up getting caught underneath aggro, and then it couldn't right itself. So it just decided that it was going to let me murder it before it could escape. That was like the most satisfying thing ever. I mean, I felt bad for pointing a bow and arrow at aggro, because obviously that really freaks her out, bless her. And she proper scarpers, but still, she came back to us, so that's what's important, and also I got the lizard, so I'm happy. And I think that potentially I might be able to get a bit of a jump going, because one of the tricks that you can do on aggro is that you can jump. Basically, you've just got to be full gallop and go straight towards the crest of a hill that's of relative size, so that you'll go off of it rather than, you know, just run into it. Or kind of stop. It's a little bit finicky to pull off sometimes because you've got to know which hills you can do this on. But it's all good. One of the other things that I didn't realise that you could do, but you can do, is you can interact with some of the birds. So, like these eagles, if I had jumped off of aggro, I could have grabbed onto one of them and sort of flown with it for a bit. You can also do it with the doves that appear around Mono. And then I think that in some of the water there are some turtles that you can interact with as well, which is really cool, but no, that ain't happening. Sorry. And I will say, there's a lot of fruit on this tree. Like 4 pieces of live fruit. I will definitely take that, thank you very much. I remember getting to this bit and just thinking, how many bits of fruit are you giving me? Because normally it's like 3. And then we're just like, no, we're going to give you 4 because we feel nice and kind. I mean, there might even be more on this tree, because I think it was just like, right, let's have a little nosy, perhaps? Or not, it was just that point where I was just going, you know what, let's go find this bloody Colossus, and it's still going to take me forever to find the blighter. And I will never get sick of that quick start on aggro. It feels slightly nasty to do that to a horse, but obviously they sort of they like that sort of thing sometimes. But it just looks so cool. I mean, it really what it does is it puts me in mind of the stage show for Warhorse, which I'm quite looking forward to seeing live for the first time at some point. Well, it's the end of the month of which I am recording this playthrough right now. And that's basically because Warhorse by, I think it's Michael Morpurgo? I think. And so basically it's about a horse during World War One, and thank you, you white-tailed lizard, for just being there. That's nice of you. So yes, it's about a horse, and the stage show, which was created by the National Theatre, has got like these amazing puppet horses, and they are just an absolute joy to behold. And it's also really cool because the whole thing is it takes 3 actors to make up Joey the horse. So, and it actually works out really well because they also do the sound of the horse, and a horse's lungs have 3 times the capacity of a human being. So 3 humans give you enough lung capacity to create the sound of a horse, and they do sort of all different parts of it, and that's just really awesome. And yeah, actually getting to be close to Joey the horse is just a very magical experience. I got to be present at the press launch for the show at the venue where I used to work, and yeah, it was... Oh, there's the jump! Hey! Yeah, it was just a very magical experience, because when the horse is moving, it's a horse. It might be a puppet, but it's a horse. And the really method, but really quite cool thing is that when the actors are in the horse, it's Joey. There is no... It is not a puppet, it is Joey the horse. And it really is like there is a real horse on the stage. It's just... It's amazing. And the reason that the sort of the quick start puts me in mind of that is because one of the sort of most impressive manoeuvres that they can pull off with Joey is doing that sort of rearing back and neighing thing. Obviously it's an iconic horse move anyway, but seeing Joey the horse do it, it's just... Oh my god, it's amazing. And it makes me just really excited to see that show. I mean, obviously I'm a massive theatre nerd anyway, so seeing anything that's quite impressive like that is almost a must, really, when these sorts of things appear. I mean, it's part of why I've got a holiday in August, and I'm just doing like pretty much straight theatre for the entirety of it. Like going down to London, seeing loads of shows in the West End, and it's just going to be amazing, and I'm going to love it. Be a bit weird because I'm being a complete loner and going by myself, but it's still going to be pretty amazing. And now we are in so this right here is the battle arena for our next Colossi. Unfortunately, I think you've got to kind of circle around the walls to be able to find him more effectively, because I thought I just have to keep going through here. I was just like, I thought he just sort of turned up as soon as you entered the arena. No, you've got to get him to turn up, and I don't know why he was so stubborn. Like, this Colossi is really ridiculously stubborn. Because, I mean, as you can see, I've gone around pretty much the entirety of the outside. I've sort of gone through the middle, and he just didn't want to activate. I don't know whether this was a little glitch, perhaps? Whether I just wasn't standing in the right place? Or what? But it was really frustrating. I just thought, oh, okay, so I suppose I'll just try and leave and come back? Or have I gone into the wrong little cave, or what? And in doing that, I ended up here and just thought, oh, look! There's another shrine. And yeah, I got so confused. So very, 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 very confused. The map can be quite helpful in you figuring out where your Colossi are when you're sort of in the near vicinity of them. Because even though the game doesn't point out where they are, you can generally see sort of the misty fog in that area, so it's pretty much going to be in the centre of that little area. So that bit helps, but other than that, it's just a bit of a worthless map. Other than, I suppose, pointing out where your save shrines are, but then, really, are you going to be using these that much? Because the only real reason that you'd want to use these is if you get right before a Colossi and don't want to press the continue button. If you happen to die. Which, I mean, I suppose you would probably want to do, should you know you're trying to get... Because I think there's a trophy that you can get for not dying at all throughout the game. Which is definitely possible. I would say very challenging for anybody playing the game for the first time, because you're likely to run up against Colossi that really do confuse you. And I mean, obviously I died within the first 5 minutes of playing because I encountered a glitch, which is always a delight. But then I have managed to make it through the rest of the game without really so much as a scratch, so it's definitely possible. It's just that you might perhaps end up in situations where it's not quite so good and aggro. Like, come on, girl. We've kind of got a Colossus to capture. I mean, I feel bad, you know, because she was having such a wonderful time. Yeah. And yeah, that thing's useless. Yeah. Yeah. But it's okay, because we were in the right place. It's just that the next Colossi just didn't want to spawn. because the next Colossi is an ass. So yeah, pretty much I think the way that you get this Colossi to activate is just to sort of head straight towards pretty much the central structure, and then it should activate. But yeah, that was just a load of faff. So, this right here is Dirge. Easily, I would say, one of, if not the toughest Colossi in the game, because he's easily the fastest. You're going to have to do pretty much the entirety of this fight on aggro or you're buggered. And if Dirge manages to, you know, get under you like this, then you're dead. Basically, I stood absolutely no chance, because also you've got to run on aggro because Dirge is so fast that you physically cannot outrun the Colossi. And yeah, I was just like, no, 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 I don't want to die, 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 I don't want to die. But as you can probably tell, I totally died. And yeah, I wasn't particularly that happy about it, because it's probably going to end up happening again. Because yeah, this is just a tough fight, particularly if you don't know what you're doing. Because the whole thing of what you've got to do is you've got to ride on aggro, realise that aggro's pathfinding is pretty decent, and as long as you're holding the move button on aggro, and maybe kind of just circling the arena, then you've just got to focus on your bow and arrow and shooting Dirge in the eye. But doing that is also a bit of a challenge because the eyes move constantly and you're kind of focusing on riding aggro, and yeah, it's not the most fun experience, shall we say, because Dirge has got to follow you, because that is the only point at which he will open his eyes. But getting that to happen is a pain. So yeah, I'm really not a big fan of Dirge. The fact that we had Bassaran and now Dirge one after the other is just sort of where you just go, no. These were probably not a good duo to put next to each other, because they're easily the most frustrating in the entirety of the game. And I don't think that was necessarily the best of ideas. Thankfully the music's pretty damn good in this, because you've got a messenger from behind, which plays while Dirge is tunnelling through all the sand. And then as soon as you know you've hit Dirge in the eye, which, as I said, easier said than done, you'll get counter-attack, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, I buggered up good and proper. But yeah, a messenger from behind is actually unique to Dirge. It's one of three, well, it's the first of three Colossi to have their own exclusive track. And yes, Dormin, I am aware. I'm just trying to actually, you know, figure out what the hell I'm doing. Thank you very much. So, Dirge. In English, Dirge is a funeral song, which I suppose is quite fitting for this, because, I mean, after all, it's already led to one funeral for me today. But I think in development it was known as the Sandworm, which is quite fitting, but its Latin name that people gave it was Herina tigris. And that translates directly to sand tiger. Not quite sure why they call this a tiger, because it's really not, it's more of a sort of serpenty snake type thing. But hey, now there is one thing that's sort of slightly odd, is that Dirge doesn't open its eyes until after it's already chasing Wanda. And you can see this, because if you lose Dirge around a corner, it does only take a few seconds for Dirge to find and chase you again, but it does it with its eyes closed. And there's the question of, well, Dirge not doing that to you, which is never helpful, but if Dirge is able to find Wanda so easily, with its eyes closed, why does it open its eyes at all? And I like how I finally hit it the moment that I died. Thank you, me, that's very helpful. Something that's also quite fun is that it is possible to glitch Dirge into sort of flying up in the air. But to do that you need a bunch of items which you can only get, I think it's either from the time attacks or doing the game on harder difficulties or what have you. But basically if you have the Cloak of Deception and the Whistling Arrows standing just outside the arena and shoot a Whistling Arrow at a wall in the cave constantly, Dirge will effectively follow those arrows, and when Dirge goes back into the ground, you must follow Dirge as it's burrowing, and then Dirge may or may not suddenly fly up into the air and sometimes go through the roof of the arena. Eventually it will obviously fix itself, but still. And something that is also quite fascinating is that with Dirge, a lot of the time, well, the only time that you ever really see his eyes is when he's following you, and they're always orange. But the whole thing with the Colossus' eyes is that they're coded to change from blue to orange either when the Colossi is attacked or when they're attacking. And obviously since Dirge is constantly chasing you and trying to kill you, it's pretty much constantly attacking, so its eyes will pretty much constantly be orange. Which makes sense. It is possible to see the eyes turn blue for a brief moment, but it's only when Dirge is brought to a wall or obstacle without jumping, at which point it just sort of turns and burrows instead. So if you just happen to be in the direction that it's turning, then you might see it go blue. So his eyes are just like everybody else's, but it's just very difficult to see. And also, his eyes are huge. I think there's a whole thing that says that Dirge's eyes might be basically the same as all the other Colossi, it's just that they look bloody huge on his body. Either that or they are indeed the largest eyes out of all of the Colossi, which seems kind of ridiculous considering, you know, he's diving into the sand constantly. But hey, all I can say is that thank God I finally got the gist of what I'm doing with bloody Dirge, because otherwise this just would not have ended well and I would have been here for a lot longer. But as you can see, this is sort of where you really do just need to trust in aggro, because you can sort of direct her a little bit and keep that circular motion going. But I think that I might have hit. Hey, perfecto. Annoyingly, wrong end of the blighter, but Dirge ain't that long, and there's pretty much only the one spot that you can really attack, so it's not actually, well, I suppose there are two spots, but the game does give you enough time to pretty much defeat Dirge in those 2 cycles. So as long as you get to the right locations, then you're going to be alright as long as you get your stabs in good and proper. So I think one more attack should do it. Come on! Just die already, you bloody sandworm. Thank you very much. Huh.